This is Boxing Tickets NI. We are delighted to be joined on a sunny Friday afternoon by the boxer Paul Loonam. How are you, Paul?
All good, Stephen. Thank you very much for having me on and keeping well.
It's my pleasure. I was just saying to you before we started, obviously, this is your third interview with myself now. Obviously, I interviewed you when you first turned pro, interviewed you the day before, I think it was the day or 2 days before, obviously, you made your pro debut, and obviously haven't interviewed you since. So, from obviously interviewing you as a debutant, to obviously you're now in the verge of your third fight, I guess. That's probably it in a nutshell, is obviously how it's going with you for JB so far.
Yeah, no, it's going really well. Think each fight with the last two fights, I've gotten better between each fights. And look, the camps in Unit 3 are going great, and I'm really settling into the gym. And I think I found my stride in the gym. And all the training's going really well. And working with Jay is brilliant. I'm just fighting so often, and he has dates for me pinned the whole time. So it's great to have that.
I was going to say, like, there mustn't be obviously much difference from you, obviously, from the amateurs. Obviously, in the amateurs, you could sort of fight as many times as competitions coming. The good thing with JB Promotions is this is the fifth show now of the year coming up now in October, sixth show since November. So, like, you obviously have as many fights. You probably nearly wish you turned pro last sort of November. You obviously to be on your could have been on the verge of your sixth pro fight, but I guess that's obviously a testament in the fact of what Jay's doing with JB Promotions is he's getting you out and getting you active, and it probably feels in some ways like you're still an amateur because you'll be able to get as many fights as you want as quickly as you want.
Yeah, no, look, I'm blessed that Jay is putting on the shows, and he's confirming today. It's like for my last two fights, before I even had the fight and before I won, he said, "Look, hopefully all goes well. You get through this, and your next fight is this date." So I could know, right, I'm going to take a week off, go here with the family, and then back into training camp straight away for the next one, and that give me 6, 7, maybe 8 weeks for the next camp. So it's great. It's just testament to what Jay is doing, putting on so many shows. Brilliant.
Obviously I hear so many stories where as an amateur sometimes so much of it's prepared for you. Obviously, of all the schedule in advance. Like for you, obviously 2024 has been a massive change. Obviously, changing over from amateur to pro, becoming a father, and obviously having to juggle box and everything else along with it as well. So, like having these dates well enough in advance obviously helps for you as well. Obviously, with your missus and the kid, that's paramount for you. It's making sure like you turned 23 in your second pro fight as well. So like you're still very young in the game, but it's this plan in advance. It's probably going to help to bring the best out of you earlier on in your pro career.
Yeah, no, it definitely brings the best out of me. Like I can make the right choices. Just say if Carolina, my girlfriend, wants to head away, I could say, look, after the next camp, we'll go this time, and then I'm back into my camp full flow from this date on. And look, it's great to have that kind of transparency with Jay, and then with Niall, we can say, right, sit down. This is going to be our training camp. This is going to be our couple of weeks sparring beforehand, and it's just great to have something to aim for and like know the map is the roadmap is there for what I want to do in the sport, and it's great to have that. Like,
When you sort of look at your two fights sort of so far, I'd probably say in your debut maybe took you a round or two, which is quite normal, obviously, to get adjusted to it. Probably would say there was a slower start. In your second pro fight, you sort of, and I know obviously I've spoke to Jay and stuff since an interview, and he was sort of saying he wanted you to sort of try and stay, elusive, sort of hit and don't get hit sort of thing, where you sort of trying to mix it up a wee bit. Second pro fight, I guess
uh,
being the main
um,
event, obviously your birthday, obviously having Chasing Abbey, obviously walking you out, like, did you feel that sort of pressure, sort of in some ways, of headlining the card? We wanted to show a bit different.
no, I didn't actually feel any pressure. Look, the first one was put the most pressure on me because it was the pro debut. Everyone wants to win it, and there was more kind of added pressure for that first one because kind of get the first one out of the way. It's kind of like, yeah, she's got that win on to the next. And even though it was main event for the second one, I didn't feel that pressure. I have a different opinion on how that fight was. So I think if I sat back and tried to box too much, it would allow him to throw his long punches like that. You can see though he just throws a crazy long one too. And if I kind of stayed on top of him, and I think if I actually kept from middle to maybe not short range, but more middle, he wouldn't have been able to throw them 1-2s. And if I kind of kept on him all the time and kind of took it to him, but in a smart way, I don't think he would have been able to throw as many shots. Like in the fifth round, he got a couple of shots off, I kind of I was kind of just, he got a couple of shots off and I was just trying to get on my bike. And then he was able to keep punching. Like his right hand wasn't just a traditional right hand, it was a long, long right hand. So by me stepping back and trying to get back to me boxing, it was nearly allowing him to rush forward with them shots. So we reflected, me and my coaches, my dad and I reflected on the fight after. And it was a case of maybe in that fifth round where I kind of had a little dip that I should have been actually on him more, not kind of stepping back and, trying to box on the back foot. Should have been more jabs, and just kind of staying on him a little bit because that kind of eliminates his long shots that he was throwing in that round. Like,
Yeah, I was going to say, obviously, he was that sort of type of fighter. If you don't keep the pressure on him, you can let him grow into the fight. Like, it's strange to think it, like, for your second professional fight, you sort of had a fighter who was coming to, we obviously know the rules and stuff they have, but obviously his record would be very deceiving of him. If you're a fighter and you give him too much respect, he's going to come to town and he's going to want the upset. So like we see, and obviously you'll have seen yourself, you see so many times people in their second pro fight and they don't even get a fighter that throws back. Like you'll have learned a lot from these first two fights in particular, starting in your debut year. By the time you come to next year, you'll have learned so much in the game. You'll go, I've ticked every box, I've made it to tick.
yeah, look, with my last fight with Ian, most boxers haven't fought him till their fifth, sixth fight. I think the only other person to fight him in their second fight was Charlie Hickford. He fought him on the Queensberry show, and he was the only, and I think he's super featherweight, or he could be a featherweight, but he was the only fighter to actually fight him on his second fight, apart from me. Like, so a lot of people, he's a step up after maybe a couple of fights, maybe just as you're heading into the six rounders. But because I started with the six rounders, I just thought, look, we need to learn. I knew I could beat him, but it was just get a good fight where you could learn. And he's going to pose a couple of challenges. Like he threw a couple of rabbit punches at the back of my head. I didn't really get that before, and it was just trying to deal with that awkwardness. I could have got a guy that went in there, didn't really give me much back, but I don't think it would have been a great show to me, and I don't think I learned too much. So them two fights, especially the last one, I've learned so much, and now my next fight as well, it's going to be another step up. So it's going to be another good learning fight.
Yeah, I was obviously just gonna touch on that. Obviously, I just seen obviously your opponent's been announced. I don't know. Sometimes I'm not sure if it's Jay or Steve Lillis or some of these matchmakers. They try and get names we can't pronounce, so that obviously when you make an attempt at it, it sounds terrible. I'm going to attempt it as I always do, Paul. You're down scheduled to fight Adil Rajeshi Kumar Singh. Kumar Singh's the part I can get. It's the first part. Um, at this stage, sort of, do you leave everything down to Niall and everybody else? Did look at footage and prepare? Like, do you sort of sit as a team and sort of look at obviously his strengths and his weaknesses, or do you just leave up down to Niall and everybody else in the background?
Yeah, I leave it to everyone else. Like my dad, Niall and Jay have been kind of conferring and talking about opponents and that. And once we seen him, so my dad and Niall were conferring him. I went home after training, and my dad said, "Did you see the guy Niall was talking about for your next fight?" And I said, "No, I didn't see him." So we sat down and watched him. He said, "Geez, he's good, but I think it's going to bring the best out of me." Like, since back in the amateur days, so from last year, I've been boxing the best of the best, and to kind of go from that to a journeyman, it is quite difficult. It's nearly more difficult than getting in and fighting someone that is crafty, that is skillful, can switch stances. That's kind of what I was used to, not just the traditional journeyman kind of looping shots and stuff. So I think I've ticked that box. Especially my first fight was more kind of back foot boxing and just getting the win. Second fight, I showed I could dig in, dig deep, hit him quite hard, weather the storm in the fifth round. And now in my third fight, now I'm in against kind of a crafty boxer with a good positive record. I think he's 11-4 or 11-5. So
Yeah, 11-5.
he's quite good, and he's high enough up the rankings as well. So it'll be a good
I'm
one.
I'm glad you sort of mentioned something there because it's something I speak to boxers quite a lot about, Paul, and I think we spoke about this sort of before you turned over. It's that mental sort of thing in your head where you're sort of a mirror image of your opponent, sort of, and it's in the pocket, it's crafty, silky stuff. Do then having the journeyman sort of level fighters that aren't on that same sort of level? Like, does it take a lot of adjustment? Like, are you sort of having to go? I know the process I have to go through. You know, yes, everybody knows your amateur accolades and everything else, but sometimes you sort of have to go through the different levels. And like, is it mentally draining in some ways? Like, you have to go through a few of these before they test the bars. Like I've seen it before with Sean McComb in the past. Sean McComb was getting matched, and it was nearly as if he's been poorly matched because he was levels above these guys. But they had the promoter and the matchmakers had to tick their boxes off to make sure they're taking the right level. Is it for you? It's sort of just having to understand and grasp that professional boxing's just a bit different from amateur boxing.
Yeah, look, it is well different, and I think with the first two opponents and my third opponent coming now, I think I am stepping that level a lot quicker than some of the guys. What I said with Yin, my last opponent, most people aren't fighting him for 5, 6, 4, 5, and 6 fights. Like so, with having him in my second fight and this guy in my third fight, not many people is doing that. And look, I think it's not obviously a jump too soon. I'm after winning my last fight and I'm on to my third fight, but I think kind of fast tracking a little bit in a smart way, but also understanding that there is a lot to learn in the sport. And like I'm no longer an amateur boxer, so I can't go in there and do everything that I done as an amateur. I can keep my great strengths in that and then kind of hone into it. But look, the last two fights with them guys were great learning and look stuff that I'm gonna go forward and use and kind of hone into as well. But look, they're just levels you have to step through in the professional game. Unless you're coming off a Olympic gold medal, you're not really going to be stepping in to world title fights or European title fights straight away. Like you have to work your way up and then hopefully go into a couple of domestic clashes or something like that. So
How you finding obviously settling in Unit 3? Obviously, we you and I both know obviously the talent and everything and the brain Niall Barrett has. Obviously, and we've seen in some of his posts and things like obviously I'm sure he's are having moments he's nearly sort of falling out in the sort of gym where he's trying to sort of test your limits and obviously having the bunny rabbit and Gary Cully obviously can move quicker than the speed of sound. How are you finding obviously gelling in at Unit 3? Like obviously I'm guessing you're not going to enjoy it all the time because if you're enjoying it, it's probably too easy. Is that fair to say?
yeah, look, it's we do sit down and laugh. We like the lads are like nearly psychos with the way they train, but it's great. And look, if I was doing my own S&C and my own running, I don't think I'd be putting in half the graft we're putting in. Like yesterday, we went for a run up the hills, and like it was the longest and the fastest run I've done in a while. And it's because it was me, Gary, and Niall running, and you just run at Gary's pace, like, and his pace is colossal. So
Mm.
it's great to have them guys, pushing you on. Like I can see Gary lifting weights, and I'm trying to get to that point, and then push him because he's pushing me. I'm trying to push him. But look, I'm really, really loving Unit 3. It's like I'm part of the family now. And look, there's no other place I'd want to be. I think it's bringing out the best in me and it suits me down to a T as a person too.
I think I'm just thinking there when obviously you were speaking of the running. I was thinking was it one of the scenes in Rocky where Rocky couldn't keep up with everybody at the start. I think it was with Rocky Four or something, obviously up the hills, and then Rocky takes over. Are you obviously thinking of that stage where obviously you're out on obviously one of these gallops and you just leave Gary and Niall behind and you just sail off into the sunset yourself in a turbo boost?
Yeah, well, look, I can see from my first camp to now, like after not the running session we done yesterday, the running session we done last week, I said to Niall, get much better at my running now. And, we done it on a treadmill session. So we done like hill sprints on a treadmill and them numbers are coming up to Niall and Gary. Now, I'm not quite there yet, but I'm a bit of a short arse compared to Gary anyway. But look, I've no excuse to Niall. Niall's running at really good speeds as well. But look, I'm kind of bridging that mark now and I'm getting there and the lads can see the improvements in my strength, even my physique and my running times and all of that. So look, this is only my third camp in there. So I haven't even been here a year yet. So imagine over the course of 2, 3 years, it's going to be good.
Definitely, you'll be setting the PBs in these 5Ks. If you sort of, I guess you don't want to sort of look too far ahead. Obviously, we know you obviously your opponent coming up in 6 weeks' time, but do you have a sort of roadmap set out for the rest of the year where you sort of where we're seeing a lot of domestic fights, and obviously this card obviously you're going to be on in 6 weeks' time is three domestic fights on it. The problem you have obviously at the weight class you're at, there's nobody really there. So like, do you sort of at this stage now do you sort of look at it and go, we're probably going to struggle to find a domestic opponent at bantamweight. So do we have to maybe look at a Welsh, a Scottish, some of the French and Spanish regions for maybe a Celtic title? Have you sort of thought that far ahead as yet?
me and Niall had a little brief chat, and I just kind of said to him, "Look, this guy that I'm fighting next, Dil Sink, he's quite good. So just trying to focus on that, and then after we can have more of a chat and deep dive into it. So hopefully, look, this third fight will go well, and then we can have a look at hopefully fighting for a Celtic title, pushing up to the 8 rounds. Um, but look, that's yeah, we're probably going to have to look at maybe a Celtic region, maybe Wales or somewhere like that. Me and Niall were chatting, but that we're going to have a sit down chat and look at a couple of opponents over there, and hopefully be able to maybe look push for the Celtic title. Maybe not my next one, maybe the one after that or something. Whoever, it's kind of up to the lads really. Whenever they think I'm ready. Obviously, as a fighter, you'll say you'll fight anyone right now, but look, whenever they think I'm ready, I'll trust them and we'll
It,
go
it
full.
it's easy for yourself sometimes to focus in on sort of titles, particularly when you're seeing, when you're seeing this card in 6 weeks' time, there's an Irish title, there's a Celtic title, and there's even a domestic fight. And I know Matthew Tyndall and stuff as well, where there's sort of, and as you say, if they say to you you're fighting for a Celtic title tomorrow, you'll go, okay, happy days. But obviously it's doing it at the right time. But it's easy for you to go, when's my shot at these titles coming? And we know that obviously these shots are coming, but you just sort of have to go through, these early stages to make sure you don't just obviously come to these fights, but obviously you're prepared properly for them, so you don't just participate, but you win and you move on to the next level.
Yeah, that's it. Look, Jay even said to me before we signed, he said, be pushing for a Celtic title, quite soon when you're maybe in your second, third fight or something like that. And I just had a chat with Niall, and Niall said, look, take things slow. He was giving me an example of Gary. Gary didn't win his Irish title fight against Joe Fitzpatrick till I think he was 9-0 or maybe 10-0. I think it was 9-0. And he said Gary just was patient, and he said, patience is sometimes the best thing. And look, I'm only just turned 23 there recently, so it's just have a bit of patience. And whenever the lads think I'm ready, and look, I feel ready now, but sometimes you just have to take a little step back and say, look, it'll come, but you just have to focus on the next job at hand. Yeah.
When we spoke before your debut, obviously you were saying about visualizing, you visualize the walkout and everything else. Like you probably know the warehouse and the red cow out of the back of your hand. You could probably do it blindfolded and everything else. Obviously, does it sort of get to the stage? And I know not to obviously discredit the warehouse because it's a brilliant venue, but do you sort of now start to look at other venues? We're seeing Callum Walsh obviously fighting for the first time at home in 4 weeks' time, and I know that potentially you were supposed to be going on that card and then not filling up. Like, do you start to dream of other venues and things like that when you're seeing Callum Walsh making his homecoming at the Three Arena? Do you sort of now start to go, what other venues can I start to visualize and dream of? Obviously, I'm sure you have venues close by to where you're from as well. You want to you tick off in your bucket list as well.
Yeah, look, it'll definitely be something that I'll want to do is have a little homecoming, probably back in Tullamore or somewhere around that area. And I think maybe for hopefully an Irish title fight or something like that, we could push that, but that'll be maybe the end of next year, mid of next year, whenever the lads think. But yeah, look, it's sorry, 1 sec, Stephen. But yeah, look, it'll be it'll be great to fight in different arenas and kind of get that unfamiliar buzz, them little nerves that you're not too familiar with the place and stuff. Like the Red Cow's kind of like second nature to me now, in a way. You just go in, you know exactly what's happening, and it's great. I think it's a really good venue. But yeah, look, there was talks of me being on the Three Arena card. I don't really take it too much. Don't pay too much heed to it. Like if the contract comes in, I would have signed it 100%. But until I'm on them scales, I wouldn't like. I'm kind of taking it with a pinch of salt, really. And look, I think in the pro game, you have to kind of do that because you don't want to get your hopes up too much. But look, credit to Jay. He said if that card doesn't pull through for you, he said, so the card's still going ahead, but I'm not on it. He said, I'll have you out on October the 4th. And look, it's just great to have dates. I see some boxers struggling to have dates and maybe only 2-0 within the space of a year and stuff. But I'm pushing for the third fight now, and then hopefully we'll make it 4-0 as well before the end of the year.
And obviously, I'm guessing obviously a wee one now. Obviously, at obviously your last card, and that's sort of why we didn't do an interview afterwards. Get the wee one home, but like obviously you're probably now visualizing, up on the feet and watching you obviously rather than obviously being a young child. Like you're obviously looking forward to them moments when obviously it's I'm going to watch my daddy box. That's these moments it's sort of you're sort of preparing for. Now you're getting yourself ready to the stage so that when your when your child watches you, they can't say they're supporting somebody else or supporting my daddy.
Yeah, look, it'll be even having Gianni there for the last one. It was a great feeling, and yeah, sorry about the interview as well. Look, the little man was just it was bedtime. It was late. It was the last fight. I didn't really kind of think it through, but look, that won't happen again. But yeah, look, it'll be great when he starts to get older and kind of realize a bit more what's going on and stuff, and having him in the changing room. It's just it's a great thing, you know. And hopefully, obviously, he'll look up to me as well when he gets a little bit older. But yeah, look, it's a great thing to have him there, and then as they start to get bigger, it'll be just even better. Like,
Yeah, you'll be the sort of the understudy then. They'll be the main event coming out with their boxing gear on, and everybody going, "Who's this?" And punching in the ring and things like that. It's like it'll be part of the ring walk. You'll not have Chase and Abby walking you out. You'll always hear your wee man walking you out, and they'll be like, "Right, can I have the center of attention now? It's me boxing here." You know, um, like it's crazy to think that obviously these memories will sort of in years to come, obviously, we're looking back on these memories, but this is what it's for now. It's creating memories for the future. By the time that even, if it gets to this stage where wee man decides he wants to be a boxer, you'll be his role model, not only being his daddy, but obviously in where he wants to go in his career. Like, have you thought of, it's probably still too young because not even walking or anything else to get yet, but obviously your wee man, you like your wee man to follow in your footsteps in the boxing or whatever they gradually want.
yeah, look, we'll see how he like if he enjoys it and 100% support him. Obviously, it'd be great to have him. Like when he gets bigger, I'll be bringing him to Unit 3 probably every couple of days and stuff, and keeping him down there. And I think if he's surrounded by it, he will start to take a liking to it. And look, I'm not going to be the type of father that's going to push him or put too much pressure on him. If he wants to do it, he can do it. But look, he'll know how to fight anyway if he ever needs to know. But yeah, like my girlfriend, she was a black belt in karate as well, so it's kind of there with the two of us. So I'd say he'll definitely be sporty anyway. And look, if he wants to take up the boxing, I might advise him against it. But look, if he wants to do it, I'll support him, or whatever he wants to do, I'll support him. But obviously, yeah, it would be great for me to see him there and kind of, after my career is said and done, kind of have that, and he can bring it on and kind of follow me with it and stuff like that. It'd be another kind of buzz.
It's keeping it obviously within that family roots, and then obviously you'll be the head coach in the corner and things like that, and it's carrying on that tradition.
Yeah, well, that's it. Like I always had my dad there, and uh, although my dad didn't box as much as I did, he always had me back, and I just always trusted him, and he's still there now. So yeah, to have like it's a great thing to have it as a family thing. But also it can be a little bit triggering at times, like, but you once you draw that line and you just say, right, we're boxing today, and then we're not tomorrow, and it's just there is a difference between a father and son relationship and then your coach and a boxer relationship. So you have to draw that line. But look, it's all in the future, hopefully, and we'll see if he wants to do it, he can do it.
And in 6 weeks' time, obviously, what else are we going to see? Obviously, different from what we've seen. I've sort of seen a mix of two. What are we going to see? Obviously, different third time around. Like what a card it is as well. Like I sort of mentioned it there. Deco and senan Kelly for the Irish title, Dan O'Sullivan and Sean Murray for the Celtic title, and Graham McCormack and Robbie Burke for the just in the domestic fight. Like you're probably going to find it's going to be in some ways easier to sell tickets, but harder to get them because everybody's going to want tickets for the show.
Yeah, it's a great card, like to have them three domestic fights on it. Like Deco and Senan, it's a bit of a toss up. I'm not sure who's going to win. It depends who prepares right and stuff like that. But look, it's great to have that. And I have a lot of friends message me saying, "Oh, geez, this fight's announced. Who do you think's win? Who do you think will win that?" And they ask my opinion of it because they think I have more inside knowledge. But I'm just like, it's going to be a toss up. Like, watch it and you'll see. But look, some cracking fights. I think Deco's is a 10 rounder. I think
Mm-hmm.
Deco and 10 rounder. So it's great to have them type of fights and to be on that card as well. Um, but yeah, look, it'd be nice to be on a little bit earlier for a change and get the fans up a little bit earlier. And look, hopefully they'll all stay, and I'm sure they will with the domestic fights. There'll be a good buzz around it, and I'm sure we'll probably have the press conference on the Wednesday
Yeah.
before the fights on the Friday. So that'll kind of generate a good bit, and I'll obviously try push it on my socials so people will after my fight then stay around, and I'll obviously stay around and watch it as well, and catch a couple of interviews as well.
Definitely, we can't be missing. You can't be doing it third time around. You know.
Um,
Um, But look, obviously, Paul, obviously, thank you for your time. Obviously, and I know that obviously it's we're 6 weeks out and life has to go on. And when you're not training in the gym, obviously you're a father and everything else now. But thanks very much for obviously coming on having a catch up with us. And no doubt see you obviously in fight week ahead of your third pro fight. And I'm sure we'll catch up with you very soon.
Yeah, 100%, Stephen. Thanks so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Not a problem, Paul. Speak to you soon.
Stephen,
Cheers.
thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thanks. Bye
Bye-bye.
bye. Bye bye. Bye.